WBSE, the Whiskey Network, is here live at the bourbon capital of the world in beautiful Bardstown, Kentucky, at this fantastic distillery, Bardstown Bourbon Company. First off, thank you, everybody, for hosting us today. It's been a spectacular experience. So I'm joined with Bill Varnell and Brian G. Miller, staff writer for the Whiskey Network. And accompanied over here is Nicholas Lewis, the general manager of the Mid-Atlantic region of the U.S. And we also have remotely John Hargrove, the chief operating officer of Bardstown Bourbon Company. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
The Bardstown Bourbon Company may not be a name that you're familiar with across the country, but 5 years ago, this distillery didn't even exist. Today, Bardstown Bourbon Company is one of the top 10 U.S. whiskey distilleries by volume. You're custom distilling bourbon for 25 different customers using 50 different mash bills, and you'll distill more than 110,000 barrels this year alone. Of course, you always have several expressions of your own bourbon, which we will be tasting in a few minutes. The first thing people see on your website is this phrase: a new blend of bourbon for a new blend of bourbon. From a new blend of bourbon. Makers. John, can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah, so the big part we had to do is really establish ourselves early on, right? So that new blend of bourbon makers is metaphorically and realistic what we put in our products that you see in front of you right now. So we have blended up a great team here at Bardstown Bourbon, hit the ground running. But what we like to do, you said you ended on it, 25 different customers. That's already up to 32 this year, and we're on track to make 115,000 barrels. So traditionally, blend has had a bad name in the bourbon industry, mixing with GNS. We really like with these three different expressions that you have in front of us to showcase our blending capabilities with stuff that's coming out of our distillery and stuff we're sourcing out on the open market across the United States and upcoming maybe across the globe as we look to acquire aged stocks. So we're really hitting the market running with our ratios of blends, showcasing our stuff and really beefing it up and giving it legs with some of the older blends we have in there, up until 23, when we will introduce 100% produced Bardstown bourbon, starting with 6 different pour expressions of straight bourbon whiskey.
Well, our experience today was phenomenal. I've always said we've seen a bunch of distilleries, and if you've seen one distillery, you've seen them all. I changed my mind today because you guys did a phenomenal job. It was exceptional. Introspective and completely different from what I expected. So everyone here wants to talk about collaboration. Why is that such a big part of what you do here?
Well, that's our main focus here at Bardstown Bourbon, is collaborating with other distillers, other brewers, other winemakers. So that's the core of our business model here. And that's what's really allowed us to take off and become one of the top 10 distilleries from a production capacity standpoint since 2016. So with 32 customers in our collaborative distilling program, that really allows us has allowed us to make a really flexible system, making 2, 3, 4, 5 grain bourbons, wheated whiskeys, rye whiskeys, grain in American single malts, that 50 plus mash bills that you have. And it's completely transparent and completely customizable. So I'd add, on top of that collaborative, completely customizable from grain procurement to barrel procurement, and then blending and aging. So we invite the teams that we partner with to come in and work side by side with our teams, from brand development, product development, all the way to finished product out the door to a distribution center. So that includes mashing, fermentation, types of yeast, procuring proprietary organic grains, like example of Russian winter wheat, heirloom corns, red, white, blue heirloom corns, different types, 9, 10, 11, 12 different types of dry activated liquid yeast, and then distillation metrics that we can change to with our partners. And so what we've built here at Bardstown Bourbon is a system that can handle that flexibility and a team that can handle that flexibility and meet the quality parameters each customers have set forth that we produce for. So really, how do we handle all that is this screen that Nick's sharing right now. We actually programmed our own open source SCADA system called Ignition. We have over 900 plus hours of programming led by our plant engineer, Roger Henley. And we have 400 different instruments feeding data back to us that allows us to produce and track a clean, quality whiskey distillate coming off the stills on the high wine side, and then barrel proofing it down between 100 and 125. So really exciting, but the one thing I like to point out is just not the equipment. We have built a world-class team here. I know you guys have been at the site all day. We have operators. I mean, they come from everywhere. So all the different distilleries in the industry have a great mix of people in the team. You can have all the best equipment in the world, but if you don't have the team, you don't have a great product, and you don't have a great culture, which our culture is just something we're so proud of. So you can see it all starts with Mark Irwin, our Chief Executive Officer and President of the company. Steve Nally, our Master Distiller. Next year, he hits 50 years in the industry. He got his feet wet with Maker's Mark 49 years ago, went out and started up Wyoming Whiskey. Nick Smith came from Jim Beam. He is now our head distiller. Samantha Ann's out there on the road doing virtuals, meeting with our people and really representing us from a national brand ambassador standpoint. And then Dan Calloway, Vice President of Hospitality and Product Development. So he's leading a lot of these blending sessions and product development sessions internally here at BBC to produce some of the products that are set out in front of you today.
Hey, John, this is Brian G. Miller here. Listen, I'm from Louisville, and I don't want you to hold that against me, but even Louisville, I'm afraid, would have to admit Bardstown is the bourbon capital of the world. And obviously, when it came time to name the company 5 years ago, it meant enough to you that you put Bardstown in the name of your company. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us, how important is that connection, that involvement with this local Bardstown community?
So we named it after the community, right? So a lot of people that we employ are from Bardstown. The city has a great relationship we've built with them. So in naming what that company is, why not name it after your main success? So just the people, the city of Bardstown, the tradition, the art, the science, all the history associated with the distillation industry being the Bardstown capital of the world. What better honor to the industry and everybody who has really set the path for this industry to be successful to name it after the town that really brought it to the forefront. We've even used our main contractors, all local people that we brought in to help build this company from the ground up are from the Bardstown area. So Busick Construction, LCS, our electricians are from the local area, David Doan. So we use a lot of great people from the locale to really support our business.
Interesting. And we're sitting in a very interesting room as well. It's phenomenal. It just blows my mind. And behind us is a glass wall that hopefully our viewers can see. There's a rickhouse right behind us. Can you tell us what made you decide to call this Pete's Place?
Yeah, so Pete, that's a great follow-up question. This was his idea to name this the Bardstown Bourbon Company. So he was our founder that got this idea in 2013 and really manifested what you're seeing today. So with Pete's Place, we just named it last year after him. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he has left an impact on the industry, an impact on all of us, a legacy that we strive to continue to make him proud through our products, through our culture, and through even the area that you're sitting in that warehouse. So what an honor for us to be able to name that place that you're sitting at right now after him and really introduce people visiting the Bardstown Bourbon Company, introduce them to Pete, and really see and teach them the impact Pete has left on this industry and will continue to live on through what's going on at our company.
I think you hit a home run.
Big time.
Chad?
So I was reading recently that Steve Nally wants to kind of bring the Napa Valley experience to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail here at Bardstown Bourbon Company. I think we really saw what his vision was, but can you elaborate for people that haven't been here yet?
Yeah, so we really pride ourselves in A, being a distillery, B, our products. But what enhances those both is experiences, right? When you remember something, you remember where you were the first time you got your first cassette, your first CD. It's just not the product that you're buying, it's the experience that you had with it. So we have a restaurant. We have 3 full functioning bars currently. We have the outdoor patio area that we're getting ready to upgrade with another outdoor bar. And we got a great team that staff throughout the complex that you really get to mingle with. We love to be down there talking with everybody that's coming in. We're kind of a neutral ground within the industry. So you'll see people from Wilderness Trail, Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, Barton's eating down there any time of the day. And we just have different experiences that you can come and just not enjoy our bourbon, but we like to celebrate the whole industry as a whole. And so we have full serve bar. We have a full vintage library dating back, the oldest product being a Cedarbrook from 1892, all the way up to the new Kentucky Owl batches. So we really want people to fall in love, not only with our product, our brand, but with the industry, what others are offering. So we love to brag about other people out there too. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in the industry. And I think once good for one of us can be good for all of us to get more people in this industry introduced to the products and introduced more specifically to the people when you come here and visit Bardstown and all the distilleries in the area. It's just a real treat and experience to come down here on the Bourbon Trail and meet the people that are making all this great product and experiences.
Now, to follow up with that, we got here at 11:30 this morning, and right away it was just a truly exceptional experience, from sitting down in the restaurant, having lunch, doing the tour, which is just, Nick showed us around, and it was just immersed with information coming at you, which was incredible. Came over here to Pete's place, did a little thieving back there in the Rick House, and then Chef Stu's Bourbon and Bites. Absolutely amazing. So totally get what you're going with, the concept of the Napa Valley experience on the Bourbon Trail. Bill?
I believe Brian's up next, right?
Yeah, I have a question, John, and you may have just answered it, but Kentuckians are so proud of what the Kentucky Bourbon Trail has done in the last few years as it's exploded, both big and small distilleries around the state. As these guys said, we've seen an amazing, crowded bunch of happy people today here, eating and drinking and touring this place. But what I know you feel like you guys have got a little bit of a different handle when you went out. So what can people expect when they come to Bardstown Bourbon Company that might set you apart from the rest of the Bourbon Trail?
I believe one, our transparency and our customer service from the moment you walk in the door. So there's always been this art and tradition to distilling. And what we offer here is we're honoring that art and tradition while pushing the boundaries of the science, the customer service sectors, the experience sector. So as soon as you walk in, whether you just want to come in for a tour, whether you just want to sit down and have a nice dinner or a nice lunch, sit on a patio, have a cigar, or go thieve from a barrel, we have something for any type of fan that's on the Bourbon Trail, right? And I think we were one of the first to offer that. And I think the industry is moving towards that as a whole. And I think once we clear this milestone and really complete the process with our single barrel programs, our selection programs, our new bar area outside, all I can say, we just have something for everybody. If you just like bourbon a little bit, or if you like bourbon a lot of it, come to Bardstown Bourbon. We got something for you. And by the way, the team we have here and the folks you'll meet and the things you'll learn here, we don't hide anything. We're very transparent. You'll learn everything you want, answer any question you have on the tours here and the experiences here. So I think are just transparency, our flexibility, and while we honor the tradition of bourbon, we're also pushing that envelope, which people see. And that's represented right when you pull up and see the architecture, that really modern look we have at our facility, and then pushing the envelope with the products that we're putting out currently.
So John, you already touched on the vintage whiskey library, and we've already had our experience in there today. And I was able to get something that actually is sort of near and dear to Pennsylvania, which is where Chad and I are from. It was an old mixer's pot still that the distillery well, obviously it's not in production anymore in Pennsylvania, but it's about an hour's drive from where we live. So it was really interesting to see all the different expressions that are in there. And visitors can purchase a drink from 1892 all the way up to some of your fusion stuff. It's just an amazing experience. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, or does that pretty much cover it?
No, that covers it, but I will note that's something that we put in so we could really showcase how far along this industry comes, but how well the products were even 100+ years ago. I mean, there's some large shoes to fill with some of these industries, pre-prohibition, prohibition, and shortly after that put out some great product, right? And there's stories and experiences associated with some of those older bourbons with people's grandparents, great grandparents that are near and dear to the heart, like you said. You have a story of living an hour and a half away from the distiller that's not producing anymore. And so we really wanted that room to be able to really bring back those memories for people, bring the people together and have that wide selection, that collection that we had Fred Minnick curate for us with Bill Thomas. And I think our cheapest one in there is an old Charter $6, and then maybe a 1973 16-year Pappy Family Reserve. That's like $2,500 an ounce. So when I said we have something for everybody, I think we have something for everybody in that room. And what a great experience to be able to go in there. And if those bottles could tell a story, we'd be in there for a very long time. So it's neat to be able to select out which one really reaches out to you and tell that story to other people.
Absolutely. And it was phenomenal. Chad?
Where am I at?
Talking food.
Talking food. We lost our notes. I lost my notes. Time to talk food again. Can you tell us a little bit more about the bourbon and bites? We experienced it today with Chef Stu, pairing with your fusion series, Discovery and Kentucky Rye. I believe it was a Kentucky Owl. It was absolutely amazing. Chef Stu really knew what he was talking about. Could you explain a little bit more to the people who may want to experience that side of this?
Yeah, so we have a very large culinary program here also at the Bardstown Bourbon Company. And even when we develop our products, we don't have a master blender on site per se. We utilize a cross-departmental, we get our beverage team involved, our culinary team involved, and our distilling team involved when we are doing new product development. And so that's also when we go down into the kitchen led by our wonderful Chef Stu, we really put together pairings that a lot of people don't think of with different rye bourbons, wheated bourbons, and whiskeys to really continue on that theme of an experience, right? You didn't know that this type of food and this way it's been cooked really pairs with the rye bourbon or the fusion that you guys tasted. So it's an overall, we're just not a distillery or a restaurant or a bar or a destination experience. And I think through some of those small offerings that we have, they may be small, but it'll leave a large impact when you leave the facility from our bourbon and bites all the way to thieving out of a barrel. So it's really neat. We'll fill your stomach with bourbon or food when you come here to our facility.
Well, Chef Stu certainly has the touch because what he prepared for us tonight, one of them had lamb in it, and I do not like lamb at all, and I loved what he prepared. So that's really saying a lot for what Chef Stu does. And Chad and I both like to cook. That's
great. I tell Scotch drinkers to come here too, and they may say they're not like bourbon, but maybe they step away from here liking bourbon a little more when they leave this place. So even if you're not a bourbon enthusiast, just come and check it out. It's really neat, we think.
Right.
John, when we found out we were going to get to talk to you tonight, I got a chance to look at your very impressive bio. Your career has certainly taken you down some very interesting paths, from decorated Green Beret to a variety of industry jobs to now distilled spirit. First of all, let me stop and thank you for your service on behalf of all of us. But that broad bunch of experience and that you bring to this job, What does that mean every day when you come to work and you're interacting with the folks here at Bardstown Bourbon Company? How do you use that experience?
Yeah, so those experiences have led me to meet a lot of people across the world, different types of people, different ways of doing things, different manufacturing leadership elements. So how that's leveraged here at BBC, I think we, from team development, really putting together a high caliber team that translates into the products leaving the door, to the culture that's built here, until the functionality and communication of our team. So I think that wide array, we think outside the box with a very traditional industry, right? So I think this industry was right at the right time here in 2016 when we started to really hit the ground running with great new ideas, how we can really push that envelope and leverage people from across different backgrounds to really have new paths in this industry that people haven't seen before while honoring the past. So it's that fine balance of the art and the science that we really try to honor here at BBC. So you'll see a theme when I talk. It all comes back to talent acquisition and team and the culture you build here at the facility. If you get that right, it's pretty easy to put out some amazing products if you have the right people. So.
I don't think I've spent a day in a long, long time with as many people who are proud of what they're doing, proud of where they work, happy to be here. It's just really been a great experience today.
Right, I get excited driving in every day, turning the corner and seeing that flag and coming to the distillery. So, and working with the people I do. So, thank you. And
the excitement was apparent as soon as we walked into the door, from the hostess all the way back to all the tastings and everything we did. It, as Brian said, the passion seems to be there with everybody. So before we start sampling any of your bourbon, is there anything else you'd like to cover to help us get to know Bardstown Bourbon Company better?
I would say we just went through a lot of what we're doing. I would just invite anybody listening to come on down and meet myself, meet Nick, reach out to us. I invite you guys back, even though you're sitting there right now. So next time I can be down and have a drink with you. And we can talk a little bit more about each product and how the company plays a role in the development of those products. So let's get started drinking.
All right.
So we got the taste of what you can expect at Bardstown Bourbon Company. How about we raise the glass first and say cheers to everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Nicholas.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, my friends.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, John.
Cheers.
So how about you all walk us through some whiskey pours?
John, do you want to take the first one?
Yeah, so we got Fusion 4 in front of you. So with our Fusion series, this was the third expression to come out essentially from the lineup that we have. So we have 3 core expressions: our Fusion, Discovery, and our Collaboration currently. So what we do with the Fusion, specifically the Fusion 4, we really want to introduce people to the product coming out of this distillery. So 60% of that product that you're tasting is Bardstown Bourbon Company produced product. So you have 11% of a 3-year 60-40 recipe of 60% corn, 40% rye. You have 15% Bardstown Bourbon Company product at 3 years of a 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. And then the biggest ratio of Bardstown Bourbon is the 4-year 70% corn, 18% rye, 12% malted barley. So 60% produced at BBC, 40% of a source bourbon from Kentucky, 13 years old, 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% malted barley. So what this really allows us to do with this expression is really highlight the notes of the 3 and 4, the really bright notes, and really give it some legs with some older Kentucky straight bourbon and showcase our team's ability, one, to showcase the juice that we're getting ready to come out in the market in 2023 with 100% produced at BBC product, and 2, our blending capabilities that you will see in the next product also with Discovery. So take a sip and tell me what you guys think of it.
So whilst the guys are taking a sip of this and they're enjoying some, and one thing I'd like to add about all these products is about our culinary experience that John mentioned before. the visitors experience, the distilling team as well, the collaboration or the types of partners that we have. We wouldn't be able to be here today to be able to invite WBSC. So whilst I've got the mic a second, I'm going to say thank you to Chad and Bill, and also Brian for being here today, and John for taking out time off this Friday night, Sam to be here. And also we've just hit over 40 other people on Facebook as well. So thank you for everyone tuning in on this. But this is really accumulation, like the guys have been saying today. So we've been super enjoying these whiskies. And they've tried it in cocktails, they've tried it in food pairings, or they've tried it in the strengths of our whiskeys here. Sorry.
Great, thanks, Nick.
So your tasting notes here, whoever wrote the tasting notes definitely knew what you're talking about. You're getting a lot of the cherries, the vine fruits, the viscosity is beautiful. It's a very well balanced bourbon at 90, was it 94 proof?
It will be 98.9 proof.
94.9.
94.9.
Yep.
And, just a great presence. I mean, the legs are great, the color's great. It drinks super smooth, super easy.
You were spot on with the adjective brightness, because the nose is just super bright. It's caramels and vanillas popping and cherry. And one thing I have to say, the legs are phenomenal on this bourbon, and the viscosity is a nice medium viscosity on the palate. Superb bourbon.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a culmination of that theme of young and old, right? We didn't want to release a 2, 3, 4-year-old 100% produced at BBC. So we had to get innovative, right? We really want to tease people with the quality of product we're putting out, but it's also beef it up and honor it with that traditional style bourbon. And through different blending exercises with our culinary team, beverage team, distilling team, this is a manifestation of that development and collaboration internally here at BBC. So we're really excited. We want you to get excited of the mash bills you see on the side of the label and what we're getting ready to come out with here in 2023 with 4 different expressions.
Hey, John, in the last 100 years of the whiskey business, I'm not sure the word blend has had a particularly positive connotation sometimes, but anybody that tastes this might think blend is their new favorite word. Did you have some thoughts and discussions about, how to basically bring the word blend into the 21st century with the cool stuff you're doing here?
Yeah, so we really want to give blending in the bourbon category a different mindset, right? We want people to think, when they think of blend like they do with Canadian whiskeys and scotches and things of that caliber, we really want to come in and change what that typically means and what that historically means in our industry. So I know people like to call it mingling still instead of blending, just because of that negative connotation it has with blending GNS and different types of spirits. But we really want to get back to blending different whiskeys and bourbons and really go down that new path, beef it up and making it an exciting category. And that's what we're going to continue to do with our Fusion and Discovery series going down. So there's no end of the line for us sourcing bourbons. Even though we're producing, we think there's a lot of other places that make great stuff out there, and we can even enhance our stuff through blends, but we will offer some straight bourbons produced at Bardstown Bourbon here in the future too. So great.
Touch on the blending thing. Yesterday we went out to lunch with a group of friends down here, and we got talking about different bourbons, and of course Bardstown was brought up, and two of our close friends both said, well, it's blended. I'm like, yeah, it's just really good. So I ended up buying them a flight, and they were very hesitant, and they walked away absolutely loving it, saying they're going to buy a couple bottles today. So I think it's well done.
Keep doing what you're doing.
I think the interesting thing is with the blended bourbons, I personally, and I think Chad will agree with this, and maybe Brian, I'm not crazy about young bourbons. If they're too young, they just don't have the character that you're looking for. But by blending older bourbons with the younger bourbons, you get a unique flavor, and it's amazing.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? So we believe there's some bright great notes that can stand out in a blend that would be washed away with that more volatile, younger alcohol profile that you normally see in younger bourbons. So we believe while we blend it with the older 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year bourbons and whiskeys, we can really highlight that unique brightness and then really put some legs under with the older bourbons. So you know that we want to highlight each individual recipe on its own and try to balance those together in the final product.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your
Okay.
favorite blend?
That's a broad question. Favorite blend out of Bardstown Bourbon Company?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm near and dear to my heart is our Discovery number 3. I know you have the 4, which is right up there with my number 3, but so far, if I had to choose, that would be my number 1 product right there that we produce out as a blend at the Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Discovery 3 was exceptional.
Yep, thank you very much. I thought so.
So we're moving on to the next one, and it is Discovery.
Yeah, we're moving over to Discovery 4 now.
So for those of you at home, I know some people have said in the chat they've got Discovery 2, they've got Discovery 3, and they've got Discovery 4. So for those of people that haven't enjoyed Discovery 4, John, probably if you don't mind doing the intro on this, we've got a bit of a problem with my audio.
Yeah, so Discovery number 4, it was our most recent blend that we put out amongst our source bourbon category. Hence the term Discovery. We go out and find great stocks of bourbon. So the first 4 have all been domestic stocks that we found. So we have found Kentucky's, we have found Indiana's, we have found upcoming Tennessee bourbons. So if you guys take a look, you know where some of those come from. But we're also starting to look at different stocks from Canada, Ireland. But what you have in front of you right now is a blend of 3 well-aged bourbons at 10, 13, and 15 years old. So the largest percentage is a 55% Kentucky. It's 13 years old at a 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% malted barley. 37% at a 15-year-old at a 78.5 corn, 13% rye, 8.5 malted barley. And then at 8% is a 10-year Kentucky, 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. And all this that I just talked about, I hinted and told you guys we are a very transparent company from when you visit us through the architecture, all the glass that we have, but transparent on the process and also transparent on the product. So if you look on the side of the bottle, it has that exact mash bill breakdown, the age, and the state where it came from. So if you are a consumer, if you're out at a retail store, you can look and see exactly what's in there, which you don't normally see out there. So that's one of the other things that we have taken and manifested into our product is our transparency through the recipe breakdown on the side of each Discovery infusion bottle that we have out there.
Well, that's really for the geeky bourbon enthusiast. You get to see exactly what's in the bottle.
I do love the transparency of Bardstown Bourbon Company. And this Discovery Series 4 is, honestly, it's a breathtaking pour. It's something I have at my house. I think I have 2 bottles now. 115 proof, so for a seasoned whiskey drinker, that's kind of like between the 105 to 115 range is like a sweet spot, it seems like. And then the perfect blend of 10, 15, and 13 years. I mean, once again, another sweet spot. And the flavor profile and the viscosity and the mouthfeel is just absolutely wicked insane.
Spot on. I get a lot of toffee in the nose on this, and sweet corn and caramel corn in the palate, and the viscosity, as Chad mentioned, is just perfect for me. I like a little viscosity in my whiskey. If it's thin, it loses it for me. But this is spot on.
Yeah, so there's three very unique, distinctive bourbons blended together in here, right? So they're all still that high corn mash bill with a 13 to 18% rye. But where they were produced at are very three distinctive places, right? That make different profiles, different yeast strands on your whiskey. So with the percentages that we came up, each of those complement each other to give you that full package that you're tasting from when you're nosing it to when you're just sitting there. And trying to think of everything that's hitting you on the finish, which is a very long finish also to me.
An extremely long finish. I get a little spice on the finish, like
Spicy and fruity.
yeah, spicy and fruity at the same time.
It's a pretty wild finish, and it just lasts for a very long time.
Highly recommended.
John, where would you think that this bourbon falls on the spectrum of bourbon experience? If somebody's, thinking, oh, this is great. I didn't even know these guys were out there. Let me go get a bottle of this. Is this, I don't think this is a gateway bourbon. It's got some serious age on it, but where does this fall in the spectrum of bourbon drinkers?
I think this is, I don't want to say it's a higher spectrum or lower spectrum drink. I think it's a drink that makes people curious. What's going on? What is this? This isn't my dad's traditional bourbon that he's had on his bar. This is really cool and innovative, and there's a lot going on in it. So I would say a new person, it would hook a new person, while the seasoned veteran bourbon consumer would really be surprised and tickled to death how this turned out. So I think it can reach out and touch different levels of people, consumers, whether they're just reaching on the shelf for the first time for bourbon, or they're in their 40th year pulling a bottle off the shelf. So it's new and innovative, and it tastes phenomenal.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, once again, well done on Discovery Series 4. So the next one is one that I'm kind of really curious about, the Pfeiffer Favitt Cabernet. I hope to God I said that properly because that's been the biggest tongue twister.
We'll voice that over later.
Yeah, we'll do. Hello, we got the voiceover. But so recently I've been fooling around with finished bourbons, and initially I was really put off by some of them. And it wasn't until I tried some Australian whiskeys that are finished in different wine casks that it kind of piqued my interest. And then I've tried some recent expressions from different companies, obviously. And I'm really curious where yours is going to be. I did a little reading on Pfeiffer Favitt winery out there in California. Do you want to talk a little bit about this, or Nick?
Can you guys actually hear me? Can you guys hear me all right? I'm presuming well. So with all of our collaborative series, especially as John's just dropped off for a second, so I hope you guys can see me, is all of our collaborative series. It's all about taking some incredible whiskey and about seeing how we can take it a step further, or trying to add a unique finish to it.
The one thing is a phrase or even an approach that a lot of people are making right now.
Having a wet finish barrel. So it's not about cutting corners or just being able to say, hey, we'd like to just add some little extra flavors to this. We're going to take it that step further. So for example, if you take Susan by the Pavitt and Sean, they make this incredible 98% Cabernet Sauvignon with a 2% Petit Verdot, high-end Napa Valley, St. Helena, like incredible, beautiful wine. So we take those barrels within minutes of them being dumped out and take them wet. We will ask them to saran wrap them and basically seal them and preserve everything that's inside them, not washing them out, leaving even that leftover wine that's absorbed into all of that wood, because we want those flavorings to go into our whiskeys. And then the next part of that is they're going to take that, they're going to spray it with argon on the inside, we're going to put it on a refrigerated truck, and we're going to hop that straight to us. So that may take 5-6 days to get from California to Kentucky. But at the end of the day, what we really want to do on this is actually encapsulate all of that freshness as well. Because we're encapsulating that flavor, that's really going to shine through when we're finishing the whiskeys. But the biggest part is not being shy about how we're finishing these. So with Five Pavitt, it was one of the first times that we've actually did a proper wine release finish, or even just any of our collaborative series finishes. But for and it kind of set the precedent of an 18-month mark. We're not saying that all of our finishes are exactly to 18 months, but it's kind of what we enjoyed and what we've started to learn, and really seeing it shine through as well. So with this wine, it is absolutely fantastic. I can see some feedback on it. So John, I'm going to let you finish up the conversation on this one.
No, you said it a lot. It's about preserving what was originally in those barrels. So we inert gas it with argon. We give whoever we're working with, whether it's a brewer, another distiller, a winemaker, a rum maker, Armagnac producer, about not rinsing barrels, about placing inert gas, and about sealing those barrels, putting them in reefer trucks and sending them to the Bardstown Bourbon Company, live unloads, and filling those barrels as soon as they get off the truck to preserve what was originally in there for the long finish, the long haul. And patience is key on our finishes, right? So we'll check the finishes every month, but we have hit a sweet spot rolling on a few of these at 18 months, right? So a year and a half on some of these finishes, which are really long finishes. Our oldest finish, we'll have a limited time offering, is we have a finish that's getting ready to hit almost 4 years this year that we're going to release at the distillery. So we got some cool finishes coming down the pipeline, some rum finishes, some Mizunara oak finishes. So this is another category where our innovation team has really gotten together, and really excited to tell you guys that we got some great stuff getting ready to come down the pipeline. Piper Pavitt was the #1 release here at the distillery in our new bottle design. And this is our second iteration of it that you guys are drinking with that 10-year finish, 10-year bourbon with 18-month finish on it. You see how dark and rich it is. It's a great bottle.
So I've been nosing it, sipping it, watching it, kind of talking to it. The wine presence isn't so overpowering, but it complements this 10-year-old Tennessee whiskey. Perfect. And once again, I've been getting more and more into these finished wines. Finished bourbons. And what I'm really enjoying is it just marriages, a perfect marriage, a perfect union with this. So it's finished in a cab barrel, Cabernet
Sauvignon barrel.
Okay. You get this richness in this, and I mean, as you pointed out, the color, it's just so pretty. The dark reddish amber almost, and the flavor profile is astounding. You know, once again, to use the word marriage, it's just a perfect marriage, and nothing's powering each other.
So I have a question for you. Why did you choose this particular Cabernet Sauvignon, the Pfeiffer Pavitt? Is there a history there? What's the reason behind that?
Bardstown Bourbon came in contact with Susan Piper Pavitt, the owner out of Napa Valley. We meet a lot of people in the industry, right? We make a lot of great connections. That's one of the benefits of this industry. It's not like Pepsi, Coca-Cola. It's literally everybody is friends, everybody hangs out, everybody knows each other in one capacity or the next. And she has some great wine out there on the market, her date night, her reserves. And so when we were first innovating, one of the first ideas, she came out to Bardstown, actually she came up to Louisville, and we had dinner with her, and we were like, hey, let's try this out, but let's work with you together. There's a great story of Steve Nally, Susan Piper Pavitt working together on what barrels to select, what whiskey out on the open market to really gain access to. So, you know, that 8488 recipe, that high corn recipe, we thought would complement and marry well with the Cabernet Sauvignon finish. And let's give it a shot on our first release. We didn't know if we were going to release it at 5 months, 6 months, 12 months, 13, 14, 15. She would fly out here on a quarterly basis, and we'd check in every month, send her samples, send her wine team samples. give feedback, and we really liked where it was going. And it really validated our process of keeping the integrity of the wine barrels and the instructions we gave. So anybody's listening and they're wanting to know how to do a good finish, prep is key. Prep and planning. So while there are opportunities to take used barrels off brokers, make sure you can trace that barrel all the way back to the brewer, the winemaker that you're with, and what's all been done to that barrel before you put expensive product in it. Because finishing can be tricky. It can go the wrong way, believe it or not, but it can go the right way. And we really like the way this Piper Pavitt Cab Sav has went. This is our second iteration. We're getting ready to fill our third iteration of it.
And John, just a quick question to like kind of lead it on from here is, with that original set of Piper Pavitt, do you want to tell us, tell the crowd as it's kind of been released on social media, what we're doing with it? With a little bit that we have? Yeah, that's so we have some that's in the 40+ month aging that we're going to do some single barrels of at our distillery. So in the room behind you, you'll see, or you may have seen, that there's a bottle filler for single barrels where you can come and fill your own barrel. And one of the first ones that people visiting our facility will be able to do is fill their own specially limited time offer bottle of Susan Piper Pavitt single barrel with a great finished age statement on it. Really excited.
John, since you mentioned that, I just want to jump in here in case people joined us late. This is the Whiskey Network WBSE team with our new BFFs, the Bardstown Bourbon Company team. And we are coming to you live from Bardstown, Kentucky, the bourbon capital of the world. And this backdrop behind us is not being digitally dropped in. We're sitting here with that giant wall of Bardstown bourbon barrels that are aging in this rick house. And Nick's over here behind us. And it's a mind-boggling experience that you've got to come down here and see for yourself.
I would also like to thank you for elaborating on the choice of that particular wine barrel, the Piper Pavitt. I've always wondered, when whiskeys are finished, whether it be a bourbon, a scotch, whatever it is, what is behind the decision to pick a particular barrel to finish your whiskey in? And it was interesting information that you presented to us and how you came to the decision to use that particular wine barrel.
Yeah, I mean, you made a great point. How do we decide when the barrel's ready? That's tricky, right? So you gotta, the sales and marketing wants it as quick as they can, but they understand it takes time. So it's kind of tricky on these releases because we got to say, oh, it might need 5 or 6 months. Well, we can't move 5 or 6 months. Well, quality is king at the Bardstown Bourbon Company, we like to say. So we make it work no matter what we have to do. And there's even some projects we're working on right now where we did have some aged too fast. And what has spawned out of that, we're looking at taking that finished barrel, redumping it, putting it into a different kind, or a used whiskey barrel or a new whiskey barrel, or blending some bourbon back into it. So it spawns innovation. You have to be able to react. You can plan all day, but I can tell you, in this business, in this industry, on the production side, on the blending side, you can have the perfect plan until you get a few bad barrels, right? So it's how you react. And when I say bad, I don't mean bad as in quality. They don't meet your expectation of quality, right? So a lot of consumers want to know sometimes if there's a barrel that doesn't meet expectations just because we have such a high bar set. So it's how you react to that, and where you go from there that can establish who you are as a company too, and how it impacts your products. And
I was really impressed with the innovative automation that we saw during our tour through the distillery. It was just mind-boggling how exacting that whole process is. And I know you're building a new bottling plant. What other plans do you have in the future for Bardstown Bourbon? Because this definitely is a destination, in my mind, for anybody that wants to visit the Bourbon Trail.
you don't think we have enough going on?
Yeah, you have enough going on, but I'm sure you've got future plans.
Yeah, so future plans in the short term, bottling. We plan to bottle our first bottles May 12th. It's a 50,000 square foot facility. and I come from a manufacturing background. So if you guys went out there today, you'll notice we're going to treat it just like how we treat our distilling. It'll be food safety certified, ISO 9001, ISO 22000 certified. So more like a food manufacturing, very clean, very transparent, very modern. The technology we're putting in there, because it's just important how you bottle is how you produce and how you age. They're all up there. There's not one that's more important than the other, right? A lot can go wrong in every step of the process. So that's why it has to be systematically thought out. Barrel warehousing is another big line of projects that we got. So we got 8 fully functional warehouses on site for a little over 250,000 barrel capacity right now. We just got approved contracts, and we're getting ready to move some dirt out front. We're going to build 5 more warehouses out front, 7-story warehouses. And I'll put an Easter egg in here. There may be a really transparent warehouse, if you know what I mean by that. So as you're looking at the restaurant, or maybe how it looks behind you right now with all that glass, there's going to be a really cool innovative warehouse and experiences that go along as we evolve to the next step on products and experiences at the Bardstown Bourbon Company. But I will also like to say, we just put how do you explain this, Nick? Our new roaming tasting bar that we have that's going to be traveling to different markets in the design of our facility. You can't come out here. We're going to come to you and give you the Bardstown Bourbon experience where you're at in our different markets currently.
So a bourbon mobile.
A bourbon mobile. Yeah. So
Okay, that's awesome. Nick was filling us in on that.
We know the secret to that. Easter
Rather
egg.
than being over there, I thought I'd come over. And so, yeah, this is basically to anyone that doesn't know, if you are in Texas, if you're in Florida, if you've got coming up in Ohio, in New York, in most of the states that we're in right now, and I can see in the chat there's been a lot of questions about, hey, how can we get hold of your products? Please bear with us. We're still a new emerging brand. In 2019, we started in 6 states. In 2020, we ended up in 11 states in the district. By the end of this year, we're going to be in 23 states. Hopefully, we'll get the rest done in 2022. If not, give us until the end of 2023 just to catch up. And by that time as well, we're going to have our 100% our own whiskey there. But with the actual vehicle itself, is obviously with COVID, we've taken tests, we've self-quarantine to be here today, to be able to unmask or even to feel safe with each other. And everyone here has been questioned about, do we feel safe and have we taken the right precautions? So we've done that, but however, we can't always do that. So our brand activation vehicle that we have that we're going to be driving around is literally Bardstown Bourbon Company on wheels. So it's a 23-foot, 26-foot vehicle that we're going to be able to pop up outside your favorite liquor stores. It's got an engraver on it. It's got selfie booths. We're going to have our pros coming in, whether it's John, whether it's Steve Nally, whether it's Nick Smith, or Mark Owen, or Herb Henneman, or
Sam Montgomery.
Yep. Sorry, say again.
Just mentioned Sam is out there a lot too. Sam.
Oh yeah, and more importantly, we've got a national brand ambassador being able to actually get back out on the road again. And it is absolutely incredible what we can bring, and whether it's a blending session to your favorite cocktail bar as well. But where you guys are asking us about what you think, what we're doing favorite at the moment is, what did you guys enjoy the most today?
There hasn't been one thing I didn't enjoy personally. When I walked into the distillery, into the welcoming center, I think is probably the better way of saying it. Friendly, attentive, informative, just modern. There wasn't barrel staves on the wall. It was a fresh look, a fresh, just everything about it was great. You have the bar and the restaurant that is, it's not all Bardstown stuff. You got a fantastic whiskey selection right out there. The knowledge of the people that work here was amazing. Nick.
That's Nick, but I'm Nicholas, and Nick Smith is Nick. Just to reiterate that.
Nick Smith.
Nick
Smith.
This is the Nick we just found out in the Rick
So
house.
he took us through as he led us on the tour. And once again, you go to a tour, you kind of already know what you're going to talk about and hear, but he got into technical stuff. And elaborated on all these little detailed things. It was mind blowing. The vintage bourbon room, my God. I mean, if you're a bourbon nerd, you got to spend a few minutes, even if you're looking. Just everything has been
And
so
Phil?
great.
I have to say,
Be quiet.
yeah, it's the whole package. You guys have a whole package wrapped up with a neat little bow. One thing that impressed me, and it's certainly not what draws you to this experience, but at the bar, as Chad said, you have all different expressions of bourbon there. It's not like most distilleries you go to, all they have is their
own
expressions.
expression.
That's all you can get there. And the entire experience, as Chad was saying, the automation just amazed me, from minute little details to seconds and minutes and temperature and transferring from the mash tun to the still. It was just amazing how automated it was. And I was astounded with that. So I guess that would have been my favorite part. And that's maybe kind of geeky, but that was my favorite part.
The one thing I would say though, is it's automated, but there's a human touch that doesn't get about 3 feet away from any of it.
Yes.
I mean, it's this incredible computers and massive stuff, but the people are right there keeping an eye on it in the room where we were. They're not sitting in a nice air-conditioned building off somewhere else monitoring this. But the other thing I would say is just a shout out to the people.
Yes,
They don't call it the hospitality industry for nothing. And this is a little bit of the Kentucky pride of these people here and why this is a special kind of place. But if you want to be treated like, somebody you just met that they've known you for 20 years, everybody, they didn't know who we were. We don't have name tags on. They don't have anything. And we've been treated like family all day long.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
To be honest, John, I personally couldn't ask to be at a distillery for almost 10 hours right now, maybe 11.
Is it Saturday yet?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But to be here
You guys may need to sleep there.
and not be falling asleep and like, oh my Lord, to be immersed with a true experience of not just bourbon, but the hospitality, the lifestyle, the friendships, just everything.
I would have to add to that, and we've seen a couple other groups go through as we've been here for so many hours. Every group is treated pretty much the same way. It's not like going to, I'm not going to mention any big name distilleries, but you go to them and you're formed into a group of 50 people and they push you through as quick as they can to get the next tour group through. It's not that way here. Not that way at all. It's an experience that I'll remember forever.
Absolutely.
And I think that anybody that's listening tonight, any of our members that wants to experience one of the best experiences on the Bourbon Trail needs to come to Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Well, and the icing on the cake is the fact that customer service is great, but if the food's not wonderful and the bourbon's not wonderful, you go home a little iffy. We're not going home a little iffy. We're going home having done a home run here today.
The home run, this is the bottom of the ninth.
All right, a walk-off home run.
That was a walk-off grand slam for the World Series. That's how this day was. And we're all in consensus with it. It was a fantastic experience, drinking great whiskey, eating amazing food, enjoying good conversation with good people.
So there's two things left that we need to make sure that we do tonight. One is a draw for a giveaway that some of you guys shared your bottles and pictures earlier on with us. We had just over 20 different people enter into that. So was it 35 in it?
Yeah, it raised up.
It was very close. So I'm going to switch over to the other screen in a moment for that one. And for that, I have to mute these guys. But before I do that, we did actually get a sneaky preview of one of our future whiskeys today.
And that was absolutely ridiculous.
So, John, I did ask about permission earlier on if we're allowed to talk about it tonight. Discovery 5. We managed to get some, and for those of you that, that don't really keep an eye too much on social media, Here's our TTD approval letter. Here's our mash bill for you guys here. What did you guys think about this? It's obviously because we were given it and then weren't told what it was.
So Steve brought it down. I'm sorry, Herb. My apologies. Herb brought it down to us early afternoon while we were sitting around eating lunch, when that fried chicken sandwich was amazing. And he brings us a glass each, and we're sitting around smelling it. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what this is quite yet, but it is truly something special. And I'm trying to think of all the whiskeys I've had, if it's something I've had, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then I tasted it. It was, we're going to need a moment.
Yeah.
kind of pour.
Well, this card, he brought us this handwritten card because he went in the back and pretty much put it together in the bottles. And here's the origin and the age and the mash bill. I stole this because I think it's going to end up in the Smithsonian.
Right.
You know, something, and it's going back in here. I mean, and it was a bad way to start the day because the rest of the day, it was hard. It was a little.
That was pretty damn
Yeah,
exceptional.
well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
that was definitely exceptional. I'm looking forward.
The bottom line is
that's coming out in April.
We're on the waiting
April,
list.
May right now.
We're on the waiting
yeah.
list.
Yeah, that will be a permanent feature in my house because I'm probably going to clear shelves and stock the bunker a little bit, sort of, so they say.
It definitely was a highlight of the day, without a doubt.
If we had been booted out about 45 minutes into our stay, that's all right. Good day right there.
Good day.
So
That's great. I'm glad you guys got to preview it. So a couple more months, we'll get it out there to the masses. The market's we're in right now.
And Nick's been waiting to mute us all day.
Oh, I can't wait to get to that. Right. So I'm actually going to leave it on right now. So right now we've got a number between. I've actually got a spreadsheet with everyone's names in on it. John, I'm going to use a randomizer 3 times, and I've got between 3 and 32 set into the randomizer. We're going to share the screen. You guys can see everything in the background. So you got between, excuse the technology people. So as you can see, it goes down to 32 and it goes up to 3. This is all the names of the people that shared everything, and here's my randomizer for you. So I'm going to press it once, I'm going to press it twice, I'm going to press it 3 times. And John, I want your call on each of these. So when you're ready.
All right, hit it.
Oh, technology decided not to. See, this is why we.
Yeah. You're on the metric system. How's this going to work?
Oh, exactly. All right. So that was 1. When you're ready.
Yep, go.
2.
All right. Final one, hit it.
All right. That's a 3. So
There you
that's 28. So we have
Do we need a gambling license?
Who is it?
Mark Carpenter. He's a member of the WBSC group.
Absolutely. I recognize the name.
Congratulations.
Mark.
Good job,
We're
Mark.
sending you a coupon to be able to legally purchase this bottle, be able to legally ship this bottle through one of our partners to you. So I'll be in contact with you very shortly. But yeah, gentlemen, have you guys got some closing notes, remarks for us?
Well, once again, I just want to thank Nick for setting all this up. John, sincerely appreciate it. And on behalf of WBSE and the Whiskey Network, remember, open those bottles, share a pour, create a memory. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you, John,
Cheers,
for your time
John.
as well.
Thank you, John.
WBSC. This has been
Cheers,
an
John.
absolutely incredible day.
Well done, John.
So, cheers. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Beautiful whiskey, man.
Thank you, guys.